It's college baseball season when we have big-time teams in the Southeast, specifically, mainly in the Southeast, that lose midweek games. And I ask the question every single year, do midweek college baseball games matter? Now, if you've been here long enough, you do know the way that I feel. I will mention it a little bit out of the break or before we get to break here, what I think about it, just to remind you my feeling and my opinion here about midweek college baseball games. In case you were wondering, Wake Forest, and why we will talk about this again. Number one in the country, Wake Forest goes down today in a midweek. Mississippi State loses to Austin Peay. So the number one team in the nation goes down. Now, on places like D1 baseball, LSU's number two. So if they have a good weekend, are they the number one team again? Ask LSU if they want to be number one. Ask LSU if midweek games matter. You know, it's funny. We did an interview with Jay Johnson about a year and a half ago, I think it was. And the first question I asked him right out of the chute, right out of the gate, Coach, does midweek games matter? And you know, Jay, you know what he said. Every game matters. We treat every game like a playoff, and he's dead serious. He's not joking around when he says that. But we're not going to spend this whole show talking about midweek games. We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports, something that we mentioned last night, but now have to talk about in more detail. Liberty's head coach, Jamie Chadwell. So we did mention this last night. Some of you may not remember, or, you know, with the chaos that yesterday was with two big-time LSU games on, were unable to watch the show last night. But Ross Dellinger of, hell, I don't even know where he is anymore. I think maybe he was with Sports Illustrated. I think he's with Yahoo, maybe CBS. But Ross Dellinger talked to, how do I want to say this? A coach who is very bitter, a head coach in college football is very bitter in Liberty's Jamie Chadwell. Off the top, we got to talk about this article in new LSU wide receiver C.J. Daniels. So we'll touch on that. Best position group in the SEC, which reminds me to mention this. We have come to a collective decision here at AYS. We will be starting our Around the SEC series a little bit sooner than we thought. We thought we'd start it in the first week of March. We will officially start it in the first week of March. But on Mondays and Wednesdays, moving forward at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, we will be live going around the SEC, bringing in a lot of guests to talk the SEC. I will be talking the SEC. So we'll interact, obviously, with some LSU stuff, but we are adding on our Around the SEC segment. We will be doing that every Monday and Wednesday for now, throughout the midweek, so that we add another show into this. So we're looking forward to that. We're really excited about that. The team is really excited about that. So we'll be adding some SEC content to the channel. But best position group in the SEC is one area that we don't talk about a lot, in my personal opinion, but LSU has the best position group that I think the SEC may have. The college football playoff is going to the 5-7 model. We will talk about that here tonight. Sorry, I thought I heard something crazy. I had a little bit of a brain fart because the wording was weird. I will tell you why the wording is weird here, but we'll talk about the college football playoff 5-7 model. What do I think? We'll preview Kentucky and LSU. Look, man, Kentucky's got three really good guards, okay, and Reeves, Dillingham, and Shepard. LSU, I hope the PMAC is packed tomorrow at 8 p.m. I know it's a weekday, but nevertheless, I hope that for a good game, hope the Tigers can pull one out in the PMAC. If we have time, we will talk a little bit about the Saints draft, who I think they should draft, or what position group I think that they should draft. So if we have time at the end of the show, jam-packed show, we will get to that. Todd Davis says, Liberty coach Jamie Chadwell claimed that LSU paid transfer wide receiver C.J. Daniels $300,000 among other benefits. That is what he is claiming. The other benefits are apartment and a vehicle. Here's what I'll tell you. That is not true. This is starting to gain some traction here. And normally when you have head coaches that go out there to guys like Ross Dellinger saying that stuff, there are NCAA things that normally follow it with NIL. I will tell you that is not true. That is not true. Here's what I will tell you. We'll talk about this out of the break, so I don't want to get too much into it. Stop being bitter, you little hoe. That didn't happen. It did not happen. Kenny says, not worried about the early rankings. Yeah, I'm not ever really worried about the rankings at all in college baseball until the end. Until the end. Roger Dugas says, ahaha, we are live from the 337 Lafayette stand-up 337s in the building. Moist, one of our favorite listeners here on AYS, is still in school down in the 706 Fort Eisenhower, Georgia. Good to have you in here, Moist. I think that is the best name alive. Todd Davis says Ross is Yahoo Crap Sports. Look, man, I don't have any issues with Yahoo whatsoever. They've never done anything to me. Naquilla Gorilla Killer says, what's up, Blake? I saw where you brought up Aaron Anderson being used as a running back. Didn't say that, but did pose the question. But I will. Yeah, we did pose the question. Could a way he could be used like a DeAnthony Thomas type player? I don't think I appreciate the question, Killa. I don't know if he could be used specifically in that type of role, because DeAnthony was used in a lot of different ways. Could they? Yes. But look, I'm going to continue to look. I hope Trey Holly it gets proven of his innocence, right? Like I 100% hope that happens here. But regardless if it happens or doesn't happen, whatever happens, I should say, I still think you got to go get it back. You cannot play Russian roulette with that position group. Guys, it's literally the only position group offensively that I worry about now. And I don't worry about it from a talent aspect. I just worry about it from a depth aspect because, guys, running backs have a shelf life for a reason. They have a shelf life for a reason. Mainly that reason becomes due to the just pause what I'm about to say, but the pounding that they take. And it is a brutal position. It's the reason that offensive line, defensive line, and running back are the three position groups with the highest shelf life. Now you have your situations where like an Andrew Whitworth plays from like 1906 to like 2022, right? But Frank Gore at running back, you have small instances where guys will play longer, but never historically does it happen. Lance says, preach, bro, on Trey. Yeah, look, I mean, I do hope that, everything works out for him. He is completely pleading his innocence, and good on him, man. Like, look, man, it is some. I'll just say this because we won't talk about it for probably some time now. For me, eyewitnesses and guys have been in law for over a decade before starting this, doing this, more on a full-time basis here now. Eyewitnesses, I'm telling you, man, they a lot of times never pan out. never pan out. A lot of you probably remember the Better Call Saul clip where he switched the accused for like some random guy. He goes, yeah, that's the guy. He's the one that hit me in the face. And it wasn't even him. They had switched him out. Eyewitnesses can be good testifiers, but a lot of times, man, they are not. I'm just telling you. Historically, they are not. They are a crucial piece for an arrest. They are not everything in the court of law. Wilkes says, I ordered a home field apparel shirt using the promo code Ruffino Joe. Softest shirt in my closet. Yeah, man, listen. Shout out to our good friends at Home Field Apparel. Man, I got like 3 of them. My wife's got a couple of them. I wear them on this show. I love wearing long sleeve shirts. Just because of, skin reasons and, whatever. You don't need to hear about my white problems. But nevertheless, Home Field, dude, their gear is fantastic. Their shirts are fantastic. That jacket that they just came out, that LSU jacket that's out, I know that it's going on sale. They told us it was going on sale now that, winter is starting to pass a little bit here. Use that promo code Ruffino Joe, guys. You get 15% off of everything there. I mean, literally everything here. Use that promo code Ruffino Joe. Okay, a couple more before we get rolling. Oh, that's not Wick. Richie Evans, what's up, Richie? Says, good to be back in the 318-3-1 great watching AYS. Been in the Bahamas with a hot mama. Hello. Man, I ain't touching that one because I'm about to say something. Listen, man. Ooh. I remember when me and my wife take exotic trips. Boy, that's why I pay for them. Boy, I tell you. Todd Davis says, I take back the stance on Yahoo Sports. They are good, just can't stand Pat 40. Yeah, they should have fired Pat 40 a long time ago. Look, I think, Pat and them do a podcast. They have done some shitty things to really good people in the past. And Pat is, look, listen, man, Pat can be a piece of shit. I'm just being honest. Being in this business, knowing people in this business, talking people in this business. I mean, he said some shit a couple of weeks ago. I forget the context of it. But he said some completely outlandish stuff, like he's a guy that, every hometown has one of these guys. The guy in your hometown that thinks ish doesn't stink, has a little bit of money. And, you look at him and be like, man, that guy's got everything. He probably doesn't. Probably an alcoholic. All right, last one before we get rolling. Dane Bergeron says, Blake, the code is only good for one order. I tried to order stuff, and they would not allow it. Well, that's interesting because I've used it like 6 times. I don't know, Dane. I've legitimately used it, I know for a fact, 3 times for Christmas presents. And I paid them for it. They were not giving out. They give us our stuff free, but not everybody's stuff free. Tyler Scott says, Wake blew my parlay. That pitching lab is garbage. Is a garbage can. Yeah, well, they can't hit right now. Nick Kurtz is the kid's name that plays first. He has been a little bit off. But I tell you who hadn't been off, the Lavalette kid from Texas A&M. Dude is absolutely destroying baseballs. Absolutely destroying baseballs. I think he's got 4 now, which leads the SEC. All right, let's get rolling. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. If you're on Facebook, do us a favor. Hit the like and share to all those social media groups. Share to all of your social media pages. If you're watching us, listening to us on YouTube, like, subscribe, and notification bell wherever you listen to podcasts. Rate, review, and subscribe. And again, don't forget, 10 a.m. tomorrow, we will be live and continuing on Mondays and Wednesdays. May do it more once the football season starts going around your SEC. But on this channel, AYS Sports, We will be going live at 10 a.m. If you want to listen, learn, talk more about the SEC, we will be here at 10 a.m. Tomorrow. Brooks Austin, who covers the Georgia Bulldogs, will be joining us at 10:30, so don't forget about that. All right, let's pay some bills around this thing. The C.J. Daniels story with Ross Dellinger, we talk about that leading off next. Actually, we're going to talk about midweek games for 2 minutes and then this juicy C.J. Daniels story. We do that next. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
We're back. All right. Moist says, Blake, you playing with fire to say Nick's name from Wake Forest. Yeah, and imagine, do you guys remember, show of thumbs, give us the thumbs up emoji inside the chat. Do you remember all of our post-game shows during baseball and the College World Series last year? Give us a thumbs up if you remember. Remember when they played Wake Forest twice and I had to say his name multiple times? I had actually 3 complaints about that, and I'm like, "Look, man, it's the kid's guy's name. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? If I come out and say number 31 for Wake Forest, it seems like I'm unprepared, then I'm not doing my job. I can't do that, but I'm not. I know it's funny. I get it, and I know what it sounds like, but I did have to emphasize it because last year people were like literally filing complaints. Somebody actually filed a complaint with our good friends over at Believe. All right, let's do this very quickly. Wake Forest and Mississippi State both lost midweek games today. Listen, it always brings the big-time question, do midweek games matter in college baseball? And we talk about this every single year. For me, even when we talked to Jay, I think, a year and a half ago about this, Coach, do midweek games matter? And he says every game's matter. I treat every game like a playoff game. Now, he really doesn't necessarily because, look at the SEC championship series, or tournament series. You get what he means. Look, here's what the ultimate thing about midweek games are. They don't matter to teams in the SEC because the likelihood that you play a ranked opponent or a good opponent the weekend after losing a midweek game, historically, it doesn't matter for you. But let me tell you who it does matter for. Ask Austin Peay at the end of the year if that's going to matter for them. Ask UNC Greensboro if it matters to them beating number 1 Wake Forest, who may win their conference. Guys, wins like that can boost you for them. Let's just say what it is. For rankings for people around the SEC, no, it doesn't really matter a whole hell of a lot. Okay? But for everybody else that's not in a massive P5 conference, it does. So more than 2/3 of every baseball team in the country, it matters to. Ask Southeastern if LSU going to Hammond, America, coming to Hammond, America, I guess I should say, since we're here, coming to Hammond, America, if that midweek game matters to them. Hell yeah, it matters to them. And the ultimate thing, and the thing that I will always say, okay, look, you lost one midweek game last year to the team that I never want to lose to in ULL. It's early in this baseball season. Now, Mississippi State's 2-2, but so regardless, the bottom line is, okay, it's not a massive deal, okay, but it can be if you lose multiple of them. And look, as a competitor, me personally, as a dude that wants to win in everything that he does, me personally, I don't want to lose table tennis or anything to anybody. Like, line up the ping pong table. I don't want to lose. Like, if you've been a competitor your entire life, and especially a lot of you that are business owners, so a lot of you are in sales, you have that competitive nature in you. You got to have that competitive nature to be good at what you do. So stop that. Okay. I'm positive. Okay, now I don't know if, sometimes they don't, but I am positive LSU may slip up and lose a midweek game, and I am sure we will have that discussion. And we'll say, look, man, every game matters, but, it is what it is. You played, Rudy Poo Tech. But ask a team when it comes down to seeding time, like UL Lafayette, if it matters to them. It's their Super Bowl. They'll print the shirts like they're Texas A&M because they literally have nothing else to do. They eat crawfish and some of those little Rudy Poos, drink glasses of wine on a podcast and look like a damn fool. All right, let's get rolling. So there is an article that was released on Yahoo Sports by Ross Dellinger about incoming transfer wide receiver CJ Daniels. Now, in case you missed the article, let me give you a little brief synopsis of that article that was released. Now, Bro Bible, who has been, to their credit, they have put out a lot of content, meaning Bro Bible, that has hit a lot of traction in the SEC. Jimbo Fisher remembers Bro Bible about their recruiting class a couple of years ago when they were number one and paying for all the recruits to go there. But Ross Dellinger wrote an article and said that he had spoke to Liberty head football coach Jamie Chadwell. And Jamie Chadwell stated, and I'm paraphrasing a little, but stated in not so many words that LSU incoming transfer wide receiver CJ Daniels received $300,000 in cash to come here, a brand new car, and an apartment. Here's what I'll tell Jamie Chadwell. None of that is true. And here's another thing about that article and why things like that and articles like that can be deadly. And not necessarily deadly because, look, NIL is the thing, but can start bringing unwarranted questions. CJ Daniels goes in the portal and LSU has a NIL conversation with him. Guys, those conversations are happening every single day, multiple times a day. If LSU did not tamper, didn't do anything, kid comes here on the visit, they have the conversation, everything is above board there. Per Louisiana state law, trust me, I've been in those conversations, have had attorneys look into the NIL law because we still do multiple deals in NIL. But the bottom line comes in one thing. Ross Dellinger does a lot of good work. He is very connected. He talks to Greg Sankey. He wrote an article today about him speaking with formerly SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, Tony Petitti, the new commissioner of the Big Ten. Here's the problem that I have with that article. it would have been easy for a guy like Ross Dellinger, who has a lot of connections still in Baton Rouge, a place where he was on the beat and covered this team, to make a phone call and say, listen, Jamie Chadwell just said this. Do you care to comment? Or even if you don't care to comment, start asking LSU people around ask people around LSU football ops. You don't even have to use their name. And even in that article, when it says that LSU paid this and they gave this and they did this with an apartment and a car and cash, I know that he could have picked up the phone and said, hey, guys, is this true? And in his article, he could have said, also to add context to this, I spoke to multiple sources at LSU who denied that this is true. Now, I asked the questions, and the people that I talked to said, what brand new car? Multiple people that I talked to said, what brand new car? Now, here's the thing. And it's funny because people who will take what I say and say, oh, well, Blake's been the guy that says LSU is not behind in NIL. Why is he, not taking a victory lap about LSU giving somebody, wide receiver, $300,000 in cash, a car, and an apartment? Because, guys, I just speak the truth. Regardless what the instance is, sometimes I'll have an opinion on what I believe, and that's my job to have my opinion on what I believe. But when something's not true, or something is true, we're just going to talk about the truth. LSU is not behind in NIL. They're unorganized. That's why Alston Thomas is here. That's why you make that hire. They're not going to be unorganized for long. I can promise you that, because I'm hearing things on the streets. The streets always talk, man. The streets are always out there chirping about what's going on out there. People like to talk. Hell, I talk for a living. But sometimes when you listen to what people say, I think LSU's getting a little bit ready to gear up for some things. Guys, I will tell you that I'm not going to say that nothing that Ross Dellinger or Jamie Chadwell said is factually incorrect. Meaning, I'm not saying that CJ Daniels didn't get an NIL deal coming here. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that there weren't things that he asked for in coming here and transferring here. I can't do that. What I can do and what I can tell you is the article that Ross Dellinger released and the article that was then republished by Bro Bible is not true. So as this continues to be shared inside of everywhere out there in the ether, I will report and tell you that that's not true. Now, let me throw this other scenario your way too. Not that it matters, but can I ask a God's honest question? What does it matter to anybody what the kid made? And what does it matter if he got a new car? What does it matter if he got an apartment? What does that matter? Because I think it's funny. Jamie Chadwell, you make a lot of money your damn self. So a kid that you coach, going and making an opportunity for themselves, you're going to say something about it? How dare you? You're making millions. The reason that you're partially halfway undefeated, I remember Liberty struggling against New Mexico State in a championship game or bowl or what's the championship game? Whatever game it was that I watched for whatever reason. You wind up getting beat by Oregon, and the only bright shining light that you had and why you're able to remain and keep your millions and millions of dollars is because of dudes like CJ Daniels. So you better be quiet, because here's the ultimate truth. Jamie, I know, and you know, because a couple of phone calls can be made. You're not too innocent either, are you? He who hath no sin cast the first stone. The bottom line is, what does it matter? And you know what? To Jamie Chadwell for saying what he said to Ross Dellinger in that article, you can cry wolf, you can say whatever you want, but you better get the facts before you go out there in the public, in the media, and start just absolutely saying falsehoods that aren't true. I don't know Jamie Chadwell, never have had a conversation with him, don't know his personality. Could tell you what he looks like. That's about it. Have heard him in interviews before. Sounds like someone who's a little bit hurt about a situation that didn't even happen. And I will tell you, this is how these conversations. So, for example, remember when Evan Stewart was going to Texas A&M and they said that he signed a deal for $750,000, and now you got all of these Texas A&M people saying, "Look, man, I didn't sign a deal for that. I didn't even get close to that amount of money." I have told you and told you and told you and told you and told you that all the stuff that you're hearing that is being reported, Nico Iamaleava, Jaden Rashada, guys, it's not remotely true. I think Nico got a lot of money and will continue to get a lot of money. Guys, he's not going to make $13 million. He's not making more money than Josh Heupel is. He's just not. It's just not happening. It's just not happening. I would love to be in a world where and we talked about this last night. I would love to be in a world where a player, because we're going to talk about this college football playoff expansion in just a moment. Think about it like this. It's so funny that you got people still writing articles and pushing the issues and the problems about NIL and the portal. Meanwhile, they write a small little article about the 5-7 rule that the college football playoff is going to. They talk a little bit about the $7.8 billion that that ESPN's going to give the playoff, which then is giving it a TV contract to the schools. We talk about Florida State and realignment, and Florida State wanting to pay $500 million to get out of there, of the ACC. If a kid made $300,000, who gives a flying F? Caw, who cockle-doodle-doo, who gives a flying Rudy Poo? Like, really, who cares and who gives a flying Rudy Poo that a kid makes whatever he makes, okay? Meanwhile, you just signed a $7.8 billion playoff deal over the next 6 years. And you want to say, he's got $300,000. Suck on a bag of grapes. That is the biggest load of baloney I've ever heard. It is the stupidest thing I ever heard. And it's also a little bit comical. Let me tell you what's a little bit comical too. That you got coaches out here, some of them, Dabo, making $11.5 million, talking about how the transfer portal is an issue. Dabo, dog, you're making $11.5 million. Shut your cockhold. Come on. I'm off my soapbox. But we get, I just, as I'm sitting here stuttering, sometimes, guys, I'm speechless. Imagine being in this studio with me all day long. TV, laptop, camera. Imagine being in here with me all day and having to keep up with college sports, LSU in general. And imagine getting phone calls, making phone calls. And an article like that comes out and me making a phone call and them telling me on the other side of that line, bro, that shit ain't happened. And then you go out to social media and say, hey, guys, are you coming on a show like this? That did not happen. God bless the United States of America. God bless the United States of America. That's all I can say. What do you think I do with my godforsaken day all day? Maybe I should film it and blur out the phone calls I get all damn day long. Work phone, family phone. I know what some of you are going to say, Blake, you better be careful with that. Work phone and family phone. Because you have two phones, wife gets suspicious. I leave this one around, just laying around. Okay? And everybody knows my passcode. Somebody can take my phone. I got 2 kids. They have my phone all day long. Please, dear Lord, come look at my phone. Ryan with a $2 super chat says, why are we in other people's pockets anyway? I don't know. I legitimately don't know. Legitimately don't know. Have no clue. Okay. Thank you, Ryan, so much for the super chat. Dane, I've never received a phone call from you. This number right here is a business line. It goes directly to these 2 things. All right. Let's continue. You know what's interesting, too, about all that I'll just leave at it with here? If it was true, let's play a hypothetical very quickly. If it was true for LSU, and LSU did do that, boy, a lot of people would have to walk back their comments, wouldn't they? Oh, boy. You know, Quinshot Junkins got a lot of money. They make $300,000 though. All right. Let me do this. We're about 40 minutes into the show. LSU men's basketball. Should we do men's basketball out of the break? No, we need to get to this college football playoff thing and our best position group. We got a lot of things to talk about. All right, let me take a very quick break. Come back. We'll talk about the 5-7 playoff model, LSU versus Kentucky, and best position group in the SEC that LSU is actually, in my opinion, number 1 at. We do that. We talk about that next. Do us a favor during the break. Like, share, notification bell. If you got to go take a pee, go take a pee. Do whatever you got to do. But we'll be back in just a minute. Let us pay these bills. Stay with us.
By the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Whether you've been injured in an accident, you're preparing for a future with your estate planning, you're getting ready to close in on a real estate deal, or you're about to welcome a new addition through adoption into your family, or you're facing criminal charges, you need very experienced attorneys, and that is what the Drake Williams Law Firm will be able to do for you in navigating the legal system. The door to their cozy office in historic downtown Ponchatoula has been open since 1981. They have helped thousands and thousands of Louisiana families and individuals win cases, close on real estate deals, and regain that peace of mind. Their lawyers over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, are very determined, compassionate, and dedicated to their craft. It's the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by.
Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Falls and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Falls has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirement. Guys, let me tell you about our good friends over at Avid Inspection Specialist. Are you planning on purchasing a home or business? Then you need it inspected. AIS has you covered. Before you make that purchase, get it inspected and find the issues before you sign on that dotted line and before they become your problem. AIS also has you covered if you just recently purchased a home with their 11th month new home warranty inspections. Before the builder says it's your problem and that new home warranty expires, get it inspected and let the builder pay for it. Do you need mold inspections, asbestos inspections, lead inspections, drone inspections? They do it all. Give them a call today at 225-717-5591. That's 225-717-5591, or go over to the website, avidspecialist.com. That's avidspecialist.com, where peace of mind happens. LHI number 11331. AJ Bama says, does it confirm that Ross is a half-arse investigative reporter? Listen, I have no issue with Ross, but I think he put in a hit piece type of thing there, personally. Guys, it's just so easy to pick up the phone and call somebody and ask. I mean, it's not as if that you are putting, like, you have a sitting head coach, a coach who would have had a team in the playoff, which we're about to talk about here in just a moment. A guy that would have had his team in a 12-team playoff go out there and talk about your school, a school that he covered, I might add. And of all the transfers to talk about, right, like all the transfers in this transfer portal class to talk about with money, Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Downs, Walter Nolan, etc., you go and get a quote that you use for CJ Daniels from LSU. Why didn't you go ask anybody about Walter Nolan? Why didn't you go ask Mike Elko what happened with Walter Nolan? Why didn't you go ask Lane Kiffin what happened with Quinshon Judkins? Why didn't you report on that? Oh, well, they told me not to report it. That's horse manure. That's 1,000 grade A, top shelf, AAA rated horse shit. Y'all know it is. Okay. So today it was announced that the college football playoff is going away from the 6-6 model, which would have been the five Power 5 conference champions getting a automatic bid and the highest ranked group of 5. Well, today I had a little bit of a brain fart. I'm like, why are they going to 5? The Pac-12, anyway. But the Power 4, I guess you can say, conference champions and the highest group of 5 will get a bye. Normally and historically, okay, what's going to happen here is, and clearly, those teams are going to be at 12. That's how it's going to work. And you have your seven at-large bids. So meaning you're going to have all 4 conference champions from the Power 4 that are going to get a bye in week 1, which you asked me, why would you want to be in the SEC championship game? Well, a bye game in a first round of a playoff might not be a bad thing. Now, we'll see how a lot of this plays out in college. We have never seen this big of a college football playoff before. We'll see how that plays out. But that is why you want to win your championship game and why it could be a big deal, because you get a off week. But 5 conference champions and 7 at-large bids. You know what's interesting to me and why I don't like the automatic championship qualifier? Because there's going to be somebody that wins the Big 12 this year that's going to get an automatic bid and going to be in that top 4 who doesn't deserve it. Because let me give an example. Even though LSU, let's even use LSU as an example, the team that we talk about. Are you 1,000% positive that next year Utah could beat LSU? Now, LSU might not win the SEC. Hell, are you 1,000% sure that they can beat Ole Miss, LSU, Georgia? Now, Georgia will be the front runner, but Georgia, Texas, all teams that could wind up losing in an SEC championship game and not being the SEC champ. So the Big 12 champion is going to get an automatic bid. So is the highest group of 5 team, which this year would have been Liberty. And guys, I got to tell you something. Even though Matt House might have been one of the worst defensive coordinators and arguably is the worst defensive coordinator, like at an LSU, for your Fighting Tigers and for everybody around the SEC, etc., college football, etc., are you 1,000% sure that Liberty could beat hell? Ohio State didn't make the playoff. Do they beat Ohio State? Now, Ohio State will be in, but they won't get the luxury of an automatic bid if they don't win their conference. It is what it is. But you are next year, I promise you this, going to see like a 3-seeded Utah. Okay, that is above teams like LSU, Ole Miss, Texas, maybe even Georgia. A team like a Michigan, Oregon, or Ohio State. Now, not all of those, because somebody out of that pack is going to win their conference. 2 of those teams are going to win their conference championship games. Probably going to be Ohio State. Look like it might be Georgia this year. That's what the pundits believe anyway. I just don't like automatic qualifiers. I think that the 12 best teams should be in. Now, you would ultimately have the question, well, who are the 12 best teams? But there'll always be something in there where the teams at the bottom, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, all of those teams are going to lose a game that they shouldn't have. And you'd be like, well, maybe if we would have beaten Ole Miss, and maybe if our team would have made a stop, as an example, if the playoff were this year, LSU would have been in the playoff if they could make a stop against Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss, and Jackson Dart. Now, Missouri would have been in, and you would have had the question, well, damn, we went up to Columbia and clapped those, well, I was going to say Tiger cheeks, but, I mean, we're Tigers too here. But you went up there and you beat the Fighting Eli Drinkwitzes. I am not a college football playoff expansion guy. I never really have been. I don't think that there's 12 teams that can win a national championship. Now, here's what I do think is fun about the playoff. You're going to have a lot of home field venues in round 1 that are going to be played at home that you will never, historically, you don't get. Like, could you imagine Oregon coming down the Death Valley? Like, could you imagine LSU going to the Big House and having to play Michigan in round 1? Like, could you imagine those type of things? Those are things that I want to see, that I would love. That's probably arguably the only thing that I love in all this. I just don't like automatic qualifiers. I don't think that any team in the Big 12, I don't think any group of 5 opponent is going to even be better than you, and probably won't be better than the top half of your conference teams. Like, I'll give an example. Utah would have been an automatic qualifier if the playoffs were 2 years ago. So remember the year when Anthony Richardson at home beat Utah and in Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. So imagine this scenario. You have a Utah team that went on the road week 1 in Gainesville and lost to a 6-6 Florida team, right? But they won the Pac-12 championship game. They would have had an automatic qualifying bid. Meanwhile, so I won't even use, well, I'll give an example. LSU and Alabama. Now, you're going to say, Blake, Alabama had no business being in the playoff. Tennessee maybe could have been even a better example. Does Utah deserve to be in that playoff when a Tennessee and LSU beat them, an automatic qualifier because they won a conference that's shitty? LSU both and Tennessee both beat Florida, and Utah couldn't go on the road and beat them. The only SEC team. I think it's interesting. I do see a super chat in here. It says, C. Hardy says, I can see it now. We are going to have an unranked 4 seed in most playoffs with a first-round bye. I don't know about – thank you so much, C. Hardy, for that super chat. I don't know if we're going to see an unranked in the 4 because, look, I think the ACC champion will be ranked. I think the Big Ten champion will be ranked clearly. The SEC, all of those conference champions will be ranked. Now, here's the crazy thing. Like, I'll give an example. Remember when LSU under Nick Saban went into the SEC championship game and beat Tennessee? LSU would have been the SEC champion. They would have had a first-round bye what was it, 2001? With Rohan Davey in them? 2002? So I asked the question, did that team deserve to be in maybe over Tennessee? Now, you beat them, and I get it. I don't know if any of those teams will be ranked or unranked, because like LSU would be ranked. Iowa, if they would have beat Michigan this year, would have been ranked. The only one that you worry about would be the Big 12, right? The Big 12. Who wins the Big 12? Like, if Baylor comes out of nowhere, gets in there, is 8-4, and upsets a Utah, Kansas State. Think about this. TCU. Remember 2 years ago, TCU lost to Kansas State. They would have been in Kansas State would have been in an automatic qualifier before. TCU would have. So I see Jared Hill says the ACC is done. I don't know if I agree with that. If Florida State has to pay them $500 million to exit, I don't know about that, because they brought some teams in. They brought in a big market of Dallas. I don't know if they're done yet. We'll see. But C. Hardy says, or a 6-4 Louisville beats FSU or Miami. You mean 8-4? Yeah. It could happen. But they would be ranked, though. If they're in the conference championship game at 8-4, they're probably going to be ranked. But I get what you're saying. Danny Girl says the problem is we cannot trust the top 12 either, because there is not clear guidelines or metrics to our ranking system. Yeah. I don't know about that. Who would have been left out of this playoff that you thought should have gotten in? LSU. LSU didn't deserve to be in. I mean, let's be honest. LSU did not deserve to be in. Jaden Daniels deserved to be in because of what he did. LSU as a team had no business being in there. So yeah. Look at this. Paul's Hub says the 2001 automatic qualifiers would have been LSU, Miami, Oregon, Colorado, Illinois, and Maryland. What a cast. How about that? 2001, was that the year that we played Illinois in the Sugar Bowl and clapped them Illini cheeks? Penn Jones says, Blake, the ACC dropped its case on requiring all that money last week, and now the total buyout is like $150,000. It ain't $150,000. You mean $150 million? If it's $150,000, they would have struck that check and have been out of there. Yeah, look, all in all, I wasn't a playoff expansion guy. I do think that there's some positives to it. I wouldn't mind if you want to be a ranking system, an unbiased ranking system. You could go and just use your top 12 for, and use the BCS model. But let me say this before we move on, because we do need to preview this men's basketball game. What's going to happen? No, let me not say that. I'll just say it. What's going to happen when the number 1 and number 2 seed get in there? What's going to happen when the best team that we knew who it was all year and the second best team that we knew who it probably was all year gets in there? And you got a 1-2 championship game, kind of like what you had last year. Then what? I'm going to leave that alone. I think that a lot of this, guys, is just from, and girls, is just for money. Brandon Graziano says, where's Florida State going to go? I'm assuming we talked about this on the Ruffino and Joe show. You can go over there and subscribe. Brandon, I don't know. A lot of people say the SEC, but Greg Sankey has been pretty adamant. He will not add just one team. He wants to add more than just one team. Something that might not make a lot of sense. I'm assuming they would want to go Big Ten or SEC, but they could go independent. They could strike a deal with ESPN themselves, CBS themselves, and get more money. Now, ESPN probably wouldn't want to play with them individually. Why would I want to pay you more after you left the conference? Maybe they would. I don't know. They could stay independent. Speaking of this playoff thing, hey, you know what? I almost missed something big about this playoff, the 5-7 expansion. By the way, Notre Dame is not allowed in the 5-7 model because they are not in the conference. Now, they don't play in a conference championship game, so they can't have an automatic qualifier because you're not a champion of anything. You can't be a champion of an independent. They will never get that number 1 overall seed. And no matter what they do, they will not get an automatic qualifier because they are not in the conference. Now, you could make the argument, though, they kind of somewhat already get a bye game because they do not play in a conference championship. So if you want to have an automatic type of qualifier, get in the conference. If not, and you want to keep your NBC deal because you make a lot of money doing it, do that. It's probably what is the best for you. But sucks to suck. God, they think of themselves so highly and mighty. And man, the truth is, them Rudy Poos, man, they've underperformed. We took their coach. Oh, he sucks. Well, you lost to Marshall, you freaking Rudy Poo. Marshall. What is it? Oh, yeah. We are Marshall. We are Marshall. Tomorrow, let's move on. Tomorrow, LSU takes on Kentucky in a really big game in the PMAC at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So LSU is coming off of a really good win. They had a heartbreaker earlier in the week last week against Florida on the road. Jordan Wright to tie it about 6 foot from the basket, unable to connect. LSU loses a heartbreaker at Florida. But the Fighting Tigers, or the Fighting Men's Basketball team, they go to South Carolina during the weekend and pull an upset against the number 11th ranked South Carolina Gamecocks. Big game. All of us were excited. We did a post-game show right after it. Everybody was, fired up for that game. And I got to admit something here. You kind of felt like this game was coming a little bit, right? Like this game was always coming because you can only have so many comebacks in the second half. Only have so many games where you're that close against really good opponents before you upset one of them. Now can you get on a little bit of a roll? Now, the ultimate blue blood, the biggest SEC basketball blue blood that we have, Kentucky, who has struggled a little bit this year, not up to their par what they want to be themselves, comes into the PMAC tomorrow night. Look, they got 3 really good guards, does Kentucky. Antonio Reeves, Rob Dillingham, and Reed Shepherd. All of them. Reeves has 19.5 points a game. Dillingham, 14.7 points a game. and Shepard, 12.1 points per game, and their big man in the middle, Trey Mitchell, with 12 and 7.5 rebounds a game. They got a good squad, man. They're still Kentucky. They still got some really young and good NBA talent. They have some seniors on that team. They're really well-built roster that Calipari has there. Now, Calipari and his squad has had some struggles this year. They come into a PBAC, hopefully in a very hostile environment, a very hostile crowd, because, man, you can win this game. You were shown that this team can, look, a very hot Florida team can come back against a really good Alabama team. Just couldn't hold on when the depth started to really take hold in that second half. You play really good and win and split against a good Texas A&M team. You beat Ole Miss. So, look, you have a very big opportunity here to get 6 and 7 in conference, and then your schedule after that, guys, gets extremely favorable with the rest of your conference games until you hit the tournament. I think, for me, in this game, we've seen what Jordan Wright can do. We've seen what Will Baker can do at times. Both guys, seniors, and have led this team, and it can only get you so far. Now, Jalen Cook looks like he might not play. He has a lower leg injury per Matt McMahon, who was at his press conference today and confirmed that left leg injury. Or lower body injury, excuse me. But your two sophomores and Tyrell Ward and Jalen Wright have to be big again like they were against South Carolina. Trey Hannibal. Look, God bless him, love him to death. He's a turnover machine sometimes, makes some low IQ plays. But, man, nobody on this team hustles more than him, and you're going to need that. If Tyrell Ward is hot from the outside, watch out. You can tomorrow night upset Kentucky at home. You can do it. Matt McMahon, for everything that we've said about him and all the criticism that he's taken, this game could be an early preview, win or loss. Hey, man, okay. Look, Will Wade's out the door. You had a bad year last year. You've had some struggles along this year. If you beat back-to-back ranked opponents here, you really start looking at Matt McMahon saying, okay, guys, he might have been the right guy for the hire. He's turned this thing around. Let's see McMahon start getting to work. It's a big game for him to get a little bit of that monkey off of his back. Because I think down the stretch, regardless of what happens tomorrow, I think that you still can be and get to that 500 mark, a little bit above that 500 mark. So you got a favorable schedule. You know, you got 3 home games in a row here, if I'm not mistaken, and 4 of 6 that are at home. It's just such a favorable stretch that you could win possibly and go 5-1 there, or go 5-1 here. It's a strong possibility. Very strong possibility. I hope the Fighting McMahons can get it done. Brian Turner with a $4.99 super chat says, Brock Bowers, new wide receivers coach Keith Williams, and this talented wide receiver are a trio in heaven for this Saints offense. Brian, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that. I don't think that Brock Bowers would be a bad pick at 14. I think Brock Bowers is a freak of nature. Speaking on the Saints draft very quickly, very, very, very quickly, I just don't see the Saints going outside of anything outside of offensive line. Andrews Pete's not going to be there. Ryan Ramczyk is starting to get older, and he's got the knee problems. You know, Trevor Penning, guy's probably a bust. I just don't know if they'll go over Brock Bowers over an offensive lineman if an offensive lineman is there. You need offensive line if you're the Saints. I just can't envision them doing anything else. Like, unless something crazy happens where the 2 or 3 best offensive linemen on your board are off the board, I can't see you not going there. I cannot see it. I know that you have drafted a lot of offense and defensive linemen in the first round. A lot. And it's not the sexy pick. It's not the face of the franchise type of pick. But sometimes you do got to draft for need. And if you're going to keep your quarterback that you're paying that much money to upright, you got to go get guys along the offensive line. In free agency, I don't really know a lot of the top free agents off the top of my head along the offensive line. You're probably going to have to go get one. Now, everybody talks about the cap. The day that the Saints have cap issues is the day that Jesus Christ is coming back reincarnate. The skies will open, the seas will part, and Jesus is coming. They are not in sap calorie hell. Now, I don't think that they should have given the money like they did to Derek Carr. You should have let that son of a gun go to New York. But what do I know? Brent Semino says, unless JD5 is available. If JD5 is available at 14, I will shave my ass live on AYS. That's probably way too much TMI. The last time I did something like that, Brandon Graziano in the chat was actually the one that saved me for not having to shave my beard. But I will shave my ass live on here. All right. I'm not going to do that. Let's do this. We will pick up this topic on best position group because we got so long before we can get to that. I was just adding it on in there. Had a good show, man. Hour and 10 minutes. Episode 878. Don't forget, we will be live tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. We'll go around your SEC. Brooks Austin joins us. I hope to see all of you there. Until then, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all have a good day. Peace.